said, wait a minute. I'm a professional woman. And you're a failure. Don't tell me nothing about your profession. You're a failure if you can't keep a man. No profession can make you happy. No profession. Call yourself whatever the hell you want to. If there ain't a man in your life to make you happy, your profession can never do for you what God made man to do for you. I said, wait a minute. I'm a professional woman. And you're a failure.
Do you hear the indoctrination? Do you hear these males attempting to convince you that your life has no worth and no purpose if not for keeping a man? And a high quality man is not even the goal for them. They don't give a damn. The Nation of Islam, from what it is that I remember, because I've gone to a few of their meetings when I was young, you know, in New York, 5%ers and NOI and all of this stuff. You see so much in New York that, like I said, keep an open mind, hear different trains of thought. They had a location in Harlem and I went to their location. I wanted to see Farrakhan in person. For those of you who don't know, he's actually Kittitian. You know, my family is Division. I'm a Division American. And in 2007, when I was there, he wasn't well and he came to St. Kitts to get healed. And that's when I learned that he was, you know, from Land of My Peoples, right? Well, along the stop, because Land of My Peoples is long before the islands as well. And so I was just so curious about him and I wanted to see him while he was alive because I always thought that they were going to try to pow him or whatnot. And so I went to see him live and I actually even went to a Founders Day in Chicago just to broaden, just to see. And some of the things that he said, like there were some things that I thought that they did that made sense and some things I thought that they did that just did not make sense. I think this was around the time that I was just listening to different ideologies because, you know, I'm not religious, but I like hearing the knowledge and the point of view that certain people give from their perspective. And he said some very troubling things when I saw him live, and I've seen some troubling videos of him. This is one of them. So many men try to make it seem as if your life is meaningless without a man, as if you are not an individual soul that has journeyed here. You have a direction and a life path all your own. And nobody is saying that there's anything wrong with being in relationship if that is where you are so called. But if you are a woman who is called in a different direction, I remember I saw this Netflix movie. I forget the name of it right now, but it was a Spanish movie dubbed in English. And it was about this man who had a wife who kept dying. It was like kind of like that, you know, let me go back in time and try to stop my wife from dying kind of thing, right? His wife, his children, all of them died, right? And he kept going back in time to try to stop his wife and children from dying. And part of what he discovered along the way, let me know if you all have seen this movie on Netflix. Part of what he discovered along the way is that his wife was meant to be this astro scientific physicist, right? And her invention changed the course of the world. But when she went into becoming a housewife, and because like it was in this relationship with him that her dreams were squelched, that her interest in math and sciences were squelched, and then she became a mother, and then she just became a housewife, and then she was like a teacher, and she was miserable, he was miserable, everybody was miserable, and the world never got this invention. And he kept going back in time to all these iterations of their life into an iteration of their life where she did not give up her pursuit in math and science. And I believe that their relationship even took like a segue. And then they came back together and they eventually did have a family. But this was, and it was a different dynamic because she was able to step into her power. There are people who are underestimating the power and the brilliance of women. Remember how the workforce, how this country suffered when women left the workforce during the pandemic to care for children at home, right? I once saw this, I don't know how many of you have subscriptions to Gaia, but I was once watching this film on Gaia. And in the film, it was talking about Nikola Tesla, right? Not this funky distraught version of Tesla that's out now, but the original Nikolai Tesla, that if we would have honored Tesla's inventions, like really paid attention instead of trashing, well, we didn't do it. Certain people did. They trashed his laboratory, stole his notes, burnt up his shop, and they stopped him from coming out with the inventions that they had at the time. And I believe Ford was one of the people who trashed him. But if we would have listened to Nikolai Tesla, and I can only imagine it was probably a Black person working in his office, if you know history, like we all know history, but nonetheless, if we would have followed the direction of Nikolai Tesla, that we would be in the era, like in the year 2000, we would have had cars that were flying like the Jetsons. We would have had hydrogen motored vehicles. Our entire world would have been different. We would have been far more advanced. But in trashing him and in loving fossil fuels, we actually kept ourselves primitive. And I feel like that's how we're doing with women and how we're doing with Black people, with people from other countries, with immigrants. You know, we have so many people who believe that because of their melanin deficiency, that makes them superior. They were putting little boys and girls in cages down at the border. You don't know who has the next invention to cancer. Like that man in that movie, right? This woman who came up with this invention, the world never saw this invention because she was a housewife. What inventions have we not seen because melanin deficient people believe that they are superior? Because melanin deficient people believe that their genius is top genius, when we have already seen time and time again that they just don't have the creativity of our level of innovation. We are the originators, I'm telling you. There's something about us. I don't know what it is, but there's something about us. Where would we have been if we have too many men in rule? Men who have propagated slavery, continued slavery, who have these wars, who have held women back, who have held immigrants back. Where would we be? Where would the world be if we fully gave people of color from all over the world a chance to really have their voices and their inventions heard? We just have this Black 9-year-old who just graduated high school, who's in his first semester of college. The writing is on the wall. Women outperform men in terms of executive function. Listen, I'm going to jump off of this video because I feel like I'm on a soapbox. I want to hear your comments below. What are your thoughts on all of this? Where would we be as a society if we would stop holding women back? If we would stop telling women that their greatest achievement is going to be a man? A man who time and time again has shown himself to be less empathetic, to be less intuitive, to be less socially connected, to be less able to regulate and guide his own emotions.
Be a part of the live show with thousands of other viewers. Go to TonyaTKO.com/text and join the text notification squad and get a text whenever I go live. Support the show and yourself, and I'll see you on the next live broadcast.